Good morning. This is Bonnie Holland with Extra Innings Softball. We have a big announcement we'd like to share today. As leaders in providing the most respected national rankings for girls fast pitch softball, we are constantly looking for ways to enhance the accuracy and fairness of our evaluations. Today, we are thrilled to unveil our latest innovation, a state-of-the-art software program that will revolutionize how we conduct our player rankings. This new software is a game changer for our rankings process. After months of development and rigorous testing, we are confident it will significantly reduce human error and eliminate bias, resulting in more accurate and reliable rankings than ever before. However, it's important to emphasize that while this software will be a crucial tool in our process, it will not replace the human expertise that has always been at the heart of our rankings. Today, I have Carrie Deaver Boaz joining me from Impact Gold National. She is a coach that has had the opportunity to review our rankings platform and the software and to provide her endorsement of the software. And so we're just going to ask her a few questions today. So Carrie, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So just to get started, I just wanted to ask you, what specific aspects of this new software impressed you the most during your review?
Before I do that, I think I have to kind of give a little background.
Yeah.
I've been in sport and coaching and playing for well over 40 years, from travel ball to Division I to Division II to JUCO to high school to now travel ball with my daughter. And I'm gonna be honest, when these rankings first started, I don't even know when they first started. I just was very confused about the whole process because I knew a lot of the people that would be on it and a lot of the ones that were left off and all that kind of stuff. So I just never put anything or any value to it because I really didn't know the process. And then you start hearing the grumblings of how many people are ranked in the top 100 with ties and all that different stuff. So I think it's kind of a Jesus thing. Like somehow you and I got connected through you calling and asking about some things, and we just started talking. And when you started talking about the software, it really kind of piqued my interest because it validates it. It takes a little bit of the human error out of it. And it allows for a computer who doesn't have any ties to who they know, what they play, who knows whose daughters who, kind of spits out a formula that says, hey, here's the stats that you're looking at that you say validate a player, whether it's batting average or OPS or fielding average. And then it allows the humans to look at it and then take the human side of it, saying, who have they played? Where are they going? And so when I start looking at that, I think it's awesome because it doesn't just rely on a computer, because a computer doesn't necessarily can't take all the schedules that people played or the level of competition that they had. So it allows the computer to spit out from a number standpoint of statistics of here's your 1 through 5,000. Mm-hmm. And then it allows the ranking committees to take it and look at it and say, okay, here's the first 1 through 10. Why is 1 1 and 10 10? And look at the competition. Well, if 10 played in 8 gold tournaments across the country and faced the best talent, and 1 played in 1 and then more local tournaments, then you can start looking around and making some of those shuffles. So I think it just allows people to believe that, number 1, there's an effort. Number 2, there's standards. And number 3, you're never going to please everybody, and you're never going to be able to get to everybody, because until you have to infinity and beyond money to be able to put people at everywhere. But even then, you're gonna get it wrong. Even with the college RPIs, when they rank the 64 that are going to postseason, no one really complains about the top 60. It's those bottom 4 that everybody goes, well, this one could have gone or this one could have gone. And so everybody kind of has a little judgment. And I just think it's going to be cool. It's probably going to be a slower process because people have been burnt and see different things and aren't willing necessarily to look at it. But I think anybody that's willing to put some time into it, software, ask for opinions, and try to do what's best for the sport, because in the end game, it's all about the young ladies. It's not about coaches. It's not about extra innings. It's not about Impact Gold. It's really just about each individual young lady.
I love that, and I really appreciate your feedback on that in that regard. From day one, I've been a part of the company overseeing the customer service. And one thing that we've had complaints throughout the years is how are rankings determined? How, what kind of an algorithm are you using? And while we're not going to disclose our concoction and our formula in that regard, we never really had an answer we could give people. And over the years, and me being a part of the rankings and witnessing it throughout the years, is I was able to see that there wasn't an accurate set algorithm. Right. Our primary way that we generated those rankings was based off of a lot of coach opinions and people weighing in and grabbing a general consensus. Well, that's helpful because coaches do know their kids best and they're out on the fields. It's impossible to do it when you're doing it for the masses nationally. So I've been very passionate about wanting to develop this software so that number one, it frees our committee to have more time to research more in depth after the initial scrubbing is put together, because it is such a time consuming task to grab all this data, all this information, organize it, and then just to start sorting it. So in that regard, it does eliminate that claim of any kind of bias of who knows what coach. That is all gone now. You don't need a one person or a specific person who knows softball in order to make these determinations, because everybody's opinion does vary. And it's impossible for us, as well as any coach, to see every kid all the time. I just want to emphasize as well that data is not the only thing Extra Inning evaluates when we are conducting our rankings. Like Carrie mentioned, there's other elements that we are looking at as well. But it does, because we've gone back and forth so much with the developers of the software, we've been able to correct any human errors to the point where when we showed it to coaches like Carrie, we will be interviewing another coach later this week. But when we show it to coaches, they go, this makes sense, because we're taking it line by line with each player. We're reviewing it and we're saying, okay, let's look at the big picture here. And is this lining up? And are you agreeing with it and getting behind it? And so that's the exciting part of it, is it's accounting for the whole picture of the kid and not just opinion being weighed in. So thank you. Yeah. Did you have a follow-up comment on that?
Well, the only thing I was going to say is, first of all, opinions, you know what they say about it. Everybody has.
Sure.
So so that's number one. But number two, I think the thing that I've watched with what you've done is, I think it's going to allow for so many different types of rankings to happen, because just to have your top 100 players, what does that mean? Because each position is different. So you can have pitchers and catchers and infielders and outfielders and hitters. And, like you shared with me, having the 2025 uncommitted, that's huge, because that's not just like a pat on the back, congratulations, you're ranked. That might help one or two young ladies make it to somewhere, or maybe get their name out to a coach that didn't even know they existed in that area. So to me, if you can impact one young woman's life with what you're doing, then it's worth anything that we're doing.
Absolutely. And to that regard too, that the rankings do take a lot of time. And playing upon what you just said, as well as for this next class of 2025 that we are ranking, we're not just doing the Elite 100. We announced last week that because we eliminated ties, you had a lot of kids in the top 100. For instance, last year in the top 38 spots, there was 100 kids. Well, that's going to cause a lot of issues when you have kid number 40 who was ranked last year, if they're not showing up in the Elite 100. Parents are upset, coaches are upset, and how is this even possible? And so because of that, as we've met with coaches and leaders throughout the nation, we've come up with a platform that we felt was fair to offset those rankings. That way we can gain more credibility back and offer a true and accurate ranking based on no ties. For those of you that don't know as well, in our rankings process, we don't bring the kids together from different positions. The rankings are separated position by position, so you can actually compare pitchers to pitchers and catchers to catchers and so forth. That way you're not saying, how is a pitcher from Florida tying with a catcher from Oregon? It just doesn't make sense to people, and my goal is that it will make sense to people. So we will still keep the Elite 100, but we also have now the Extra Select, which is players 101 through 200, and our Extra Prospects, which is players 201 to 300. We've also opened up, as Carrie mentioned, an uncommitted ranking for the class of 2025. You would nominate the kids the same way you traditionally do for the committed kids. It's the same form. And we've also opened up an academic honor roll ranking, as well as a batter and hitters ranking. So in that regard, when you send in your nomination, we consider the kids for all those rankings. There is not a separate process for each one of those. So to Carrie's point, we have already begun starting to evaluate for different types of rankings. And every child that is nominated will receive a national or a regional ranking for sure. We are not guaranteeing a national ranking because they have to meet that criteria to be considered nationally. But as far as regional, we will offer regional ranking on all the kids so that they have an understanding of how they are doing against the competition in their region. Okay, so just moving on, another question I had for you is, how do you believe this software will impact the accuracy and fairness, going forward as a company?
I think this might answer this question and maybe a possible another one that you have. I think in looking at the software, what really stood out to me was when you were looking at it and maybe it didn't make sense where one kid was ranked over another one, is that there was a column that said, here's a red flag. Like, maybe there was a 0 in the on base percentage, but the kid's hitting 400. So she's in the bottom 40, but that 0 is weighted. So it allowed you to look and say, why is it? And you can go, well, if you don't see the 0, the red flag says, hey, she has a 0 in her on base. So you can look at her statistics through Game Changer or Athletes Go Live, or even better yet, call the coach and say, hey, how is this possible? This kid's hitting 400. And then when you fix that, then all of a sudden she jumps up into the top 10. Now you go, oh, okay, it makes sense. So it's really a checks and balance system. And, I don't think you're ever going to get it completely right. I think it's like the American diet. It's always transforming, it's a cookie diet, all that kind of stuff. But I think if you're working on it and always trying to do what's best for the game, and it takes out the human element, but allows the human and the computer to get together, I think it's the best of both worlds.
Thank you for bringing that up too, about how the system flags those. There's been a lot of complaints through the years where people say, well, if you're relying heavily on stats, you've got the issue with Game Changer with, you've got parents that maybe are scoring differently than a coach would score. And I've heard that repeatedly. There's not a lot we can do at this time. I have plans for the future of how we can get around that, but it will take some time to get there. In the meantime, though, I've received complaints before that, hey, someone was so skewed to their stats that then how do you verify on accuracy? With the way that we've developed the software, because it catches those red flags, it says, hold on just a second, you can't have a kid with these stats and this lining up. It's not humanly possible, or it's not possible within the realm in which we have taught the software, which took a long time and a lot of meetings back and forth to get this just right. And so in that regard, it gives us the opportunity, like Carrie said, to reach out to the coach and say, we saw this, it's flagged. Can we talk about it? Can we walk through it? Can you justify it to where it does make sense? I also want to emphasize that the people that helped create this software are women that have played at high levels of the game. They're the ones that have been out on the field. They know the game better than anyone. They've either played D1, coached D1, college, they've coached college. So it hasn't just been a few people that are making these decisions. It's been a lot of time and effort and going back and forth saying what is a typical batting average for kids, and taking into consideration, are they playing high school? Are they playing travel ball? What's a fair boundary that we're going to put on this to weight each one? Are we going to rate one stat over another? There's just no way the software could have been developed without their expertise in that field, because they've played so long at such high levels and they have such a great track record. So I just wanted to speak to that as well. And I'm thankful that you brought that up, because we did have experts in the field that know what they're doing, being able to teach our developers how to weight that. So thank you for that as well. And so, okay, so our last question, unless you have some more feedback you want to give, is please describe a particular feature of the software that you think will be a game changer for the evaluations. Like, what is the one thing that maybe stood out to you that you're the most excited about?
I think I still go back to that red flag.
Okay.
I think that's the part that I would say that stands out the most. And then just from an old lady's eye set, that it's all the information is put into a spreadsheet that somebody can look at, and that kind of, from a coach's standpoint, it goes back to when I get the statistics and when I'm looking at how to write a lineup. I'll write my lineup before I ever look at those statistics based on being their human and experience and what I think would be the best. And then I'm going to go look at the statistics and then go, oh, hey, I didn't know this kid was that much higher than the other kid in these situations. Like you can get statistics that go, how does your team hit against left-handers? How does your team hit against left-handers at nighttime? Like you can go so specific in what you're doing. I think I look at it that way, that the software allows you to say, yeah, this is what we think, but now does it really support it? And I think it's just a checks and balance. And I think in anything, whether you're coaching, whether you're trying to rank kids, whatever you're doing in life, if you have a checks and balance system and you allow it to work and one doesn't supersede the other, then it makes sense. And, everybody's going to think that little Susie should be 5 spots higher than the other. And I guarantee you there'll be somebody who will rise to the top in the World Series in the next 2 years that wasn't even ranked, because one, they don't know about it. And then the other thing is what? The coaches and the parents have to do their work. They have to nominate. Like you can't just put someone on there that wasn't nominated, and everybody's going to have their loyalty of who they do it to and why they do it for. But if everybody just gets out of the way and does what is truly best for the athlete, then it'll all work out. And then everybody can rank. And that's even better that there's more people ranking, because some people are going to be stronger in certain areas. And it doesn't have to be I'm the best at it and our ranking's the only one that works. It's, Extra Inning has one. I don't even know all the different rankings that are out there, but whatever gets any young woman a pat on the back or a look at a coach or a place to surface is going to be huge. And the bottom line is you can never govern ethics. It doesn't matter who's doing it. The bottom line is you either have it or you don't. And it does validate or not validate. And there's reasons for everybody. And anyone that would say, oh, well, my kid was ranked in the top 100 and last year and they're not this year. Well, if you look at in the top 100, there was 300 kids in the top 100. That's really not the top 100. I mean, you might be able to say, oh, tied for third, but if people don't know there was 15 spots tied for third, then like, I don't even know what the number is that you said, like the top 31 was the top 100. Well, that was the top 100.
Yes,
so if you just call those out, you can look at all those kind of stuff. So, and I get why that happens, because I don't know if you can really narrow it down to the top 100 completely across the country, because someone's going to get left out. Someone should be there, or as a coach, when I play one team and I see a kid's ranked number 2 and we struck her out 3 times and she had 6 errors, I go, huh? But it was one game. So I think those are all the things that people have to take into consideration. And truthfully, if everybody backs up and says, I'm going to do what's best for my athletes when I can, and don't get your feelings hurt and don't make it personal and don't be emotional, then it is what it is, and it's best for the game and best for the girls.
Carrie, thank you so much for your time today and for helping us with this. I just really appreciate it so much. You've been such a help and a support, and we're just really excited. We're going to always keep trying to move forward and make improvements and just do the best we can by the kids and the parents and the coaches, because they put so much into this. They deserve as much fairness and accuracy as possible. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. 1% better every day makes it better.
Oh, I love it. I love that. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.